The Forester is one of the most popular models that Subaru has in its lineup. In fact, speaking of its lineup, it's actually been a staple of theirs ever since its introduction back in 1997. Now, it's grown in size, obviously, and has also diversified in the point that not only will you find it at the base of, let's say, for example, a mountain bike trail, but you'll also find a lot of them roaming around the city too. I'm not exactly an outdoorsman, so to speak, and I'm sure you've probably seen the video. So I want to keep the Forester inside my comfort zone, which is the city, and show you the exterior, the interior, its comfort, its technology, and just exactly find out how good or bad the EyeSight technology is in heavy Metro Manila traffic, because really at this point, I need all the help that I can get. Ugh. Are you looking to compare prices for your brand new car? Well then, visit AutoDeal.com.ph, select the car that you want, and choose to request for a quote from our network of over 500 official dealer partners nationwide. Within minutes, you'll start receiving offers from the dealers you've selected. All that's left is for you to select the deal that's best for you. Get the best deal on AutoDeal. With a facelift comes, well, a new face, obviously, with much sharper headlamps and a sharper grille up front. When you move down the side, you'll have 18-inch wheels with disc brake up front and at the rear for maximum, and I do mean maximum, stopping power that sit all above 220 millimeters of ground clearance. Now, if you've seen our video of the Outback, which I'm sure the links are somewhere down below, you'll see just exactly how much black plastic cladding you have on that vehicle, because obviously it wouldn't be a Subaru if you didn't have that much black plastic cladding. But on this automobile, much less. It's much more elegant. At this price point, you'd expect it. And to be honest with you, when I see less black plastic cladding, I'm thinking more city, so to speak. You've got silver caps on your side mirrors, repeaters and cameras, chrome that surround the windows, a roof rail up on top. But when you come over to the rear, you'll see that it's mostly unchanged. They still have the lobster claw looking tail lamps, which I think are actually kind of cute and would look good with like lemon butter sauce all over it. And to Jack's delight, there is still a real exhaust found down below. And for no good reason, we're gonna do a sound test right now. Now, we don't normally do sound tests here on AutoDeal, but on our sister channel, AutoDeal, Gino loves to make as much noise as possible, even more than the motorcycle itself at times. But really, it's absolutely awesome when he takes the bike around and you can really hear the sounds. So do head on over to our AutoDeal channel and check that out. If you've never been inside a Forester before, you might be shocked to find that there isn't just one screen. There's actually two screens available for you. The first is your 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which has a 360-degree view camera, thanks to the cameras found all around the vehicle. And it generally works okay. It's got Android and Apple capabilities, and it's quite smooth, really. It's not the clearest on the planet, but it is quite smooth. Then the second screen is found all the way up on top. Now, obviously, that's not touch sensitive because it's just way too far, and that's just an accident waiting to happen. But rather, to control that, you have an info button on your steering wheel right next to your audio controls, which will control your infotainment system. Now, that smaller screen, you'll see options like for your EyeSight, for your pitch and your roll, and also your fuel economy, and a clock, because if you need it, to tell you just exactly how late you're going to be because of the traffic in Metro Manila. Now, this is quite nitpicking, but on the steering wheel, you've got a plethora of buttons, in the sense that you've got, like I said, to control your smaller screen, and then your audio controls here. You've got your cruise controls found on the right-hand side, and then buttons underneath the steering wheel here on the left-hand side to control your small trip computer, which is flanked by 2 analog gauges. But Jack did point out, because he's a little princess, that there isn't a button to get to your Siri or your Google Assistant immediately on the steering wheel. That is actually inside the infotainment system. It's not a deal breaker at all. It's just Jack is, like I said, being a little princess. And I have no time for princesses. My life is full of a princess already, Jack. I don't need you to be one. Although he is quite pretty because he's got long hair. Here, let me show you. Look at him. He's pretty. Sorry, ladies, he's taken. The seats are actually quite good. They're firm, supportive, and the leather feels nice. And then the bolsterings here is just right, really, for either size, my size or Jack's size. It feels really, really good. And then you've got power seats for the driver. Non-power.
Passenger.
Oh, there's power for the passenger too. I didn't even see that. But there's power for the passenger too. What is missing, I can tell you, is a lumbar support, or rather controls for the lumbar support. There is a small bump here. I don't know, can you see that? There is a slight bump that you can see right here, which is good, but it may not be the best for other people, so you might want more or less lumbar support. There isn't a control for that, but there are controls for memory seats here that I absolutely love. And then there's also one thing that I really, really like about the layout of this car, which is that the screen isn't so big. It's only 8 inches, but it's the fact that it doesn't look like it's out of place. And the fact that there's a second screen here too, that doesn't look out of place. The way it's built and designed and put in, it's just, it doesn't look cumbersome at all. Even Jack says that he prefers this layout to what you will find inside, let's say, for example, the Crosstrek. It's just, it's much more refined and it's not in your face, and I like it. I love too that there are physical controls for your audio, for your air, even your EyeSight here on the left hand side. There are physical controls on that. So it gives you back sort of like the control of being able to do what it is that you want immediately, rather than having to start the automobile up and waiting for the system to load and then going into the screen itself. I'm not saying that those larger screens are bad, no, but it's just that a big chunk of the past is slowly slipping away, and I like the fact that these guys are still here. I'm not trying to date myself in any way whatsoever. It's just so much easier to get to. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, however, because in those areas that I told you that there are controls of, there's also a lot of piano blacks found inside this car. That, and I've made no secret about it in the past, I'm not really a big fan of. Now, as for compartments inside the cabin, the front cabin, it's actually quite decent. You've got a small little pocket here where you can put your key. Your bottles fit very well inside the center, even on the door. That works out really well. But unfortunately, the other spaces that you have inside the cabin are not that large, although there is a USB charging point and a 12-volt socket found here in this little cabin, or rather not cabin, compartment. It doesn't actually fit the size of the phones that we have now. It's kind of in an awkward position. Yeah, I'm digging this. I'm even digging, look at how the size of this roof, this glass panel. It's huge. It's probably even big enough that I can see it from the back. Yep, the light does come in. That's a really big pane of glass, man. Okay, here in the second row, questionable for me is the comfort of the rear backrest, because it does kind of lean back a bit too much, a little too much for my liking. What isn't questionable is the amount of space that you get back here, because this is Jack's normal driving position and I have got room, and I do mean a lot of room. Plus, even if this is an all-wheel drive system, the tunnel is actually quite low. I mean, look at it. I could literally stand on it and still fit inside the car. That's quite low. So, fitting a third passenger in here, maybe someone my size or possibly even smaller, that wouldn't be an issue. Obviously, 2 large adults, no problems whatsoever. More space in the form of the doors can quite snugly fit my bottle. It's a little bit of a push, but it does fall in. And then you have more space in your center armrest for bottles too. But this is the first time I've ever seen this in a center armrest at the rear. It has piano black. I think they found out that I don't like piano black and they're doing this just to me. Although no, I don't think I'm that special. What I can tell you is for other toys inside the car, you've got 2 air vents found up front, which is very, very important considering the amount of light that comes in here and you don't want to be fighting for air. There's also 2 2.1 ampere charging points to charge your devices back here. Now, while the space is great for a 5-seater automobile, if you're looking for even more space for your passengers, at this price point, you might want to check out our video of the Mazda CX-8. It's a bit more expensive than what this car already is, but you do also get 2 additional seats. So there's that. The Forester has a power tailgate, as obviously you'd expect, and it reveals a whopping 505 liters of space with a tonneau cover too, which I actually find really cool. Now it's 505 liters because the car is just so wide, and then you have this height here, which can really carry a lot of items. However, I will point out that putting a balikbayan box in the rear while the tonneau is there is not going to happen. No, sorry, you're going to have to take this out, either store it at home or keep it somewhere inside the automobile. But putting a balikbayan box in there, there's still a lot of space on the side for overnight compartments. And then obviously, when you fold the second row, thank goodness it's flat too, you can fit a heck of a lot more, because that comes to about 1,700 and over 70 liters of space. That's really quite a lot. Now, while that does it for the exterior and interior of the automobile, I cannot let this go until I tell you some of the cool features that I found on this car, and 2 of them are actually here at the rear. Number 1 is right beside the 12-volt socket, which on its own is already cool enough. There is a switch, or rather a lever, that when you just flip, it folds the second row, just like that. That is so cool. The second thing that I found in here are parcel hooks here found up on top, which can carry up to 3 kilos of weight. Now that may not seem like a lot, but even whippersnappers like Jack and old fogies like myself appreciate those things, because when you go to the grocery, those things are awesome. Yet another car where the door comes all the way down and it protects the car, the inside of the car, from getting all dirty and muddy and whatnot, which in turn protects your leg or your pants from getting dirty too when you get inside the car. And then the last cool thing is the driver monitoring system, which is there's actually a camera found here in the center, and it watches you the whole time. It scans your face, and then it knows when you're starting to doze off and your eyes are starting to close, and then it alerts you just to make sure that you're as safe as possible and as alert as possible. Kind of like HAL 9000.
Dave, do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Wow, if you know the reference to that, you're scary. At the heart of the Forester is the same power plant that you will find inside the Crosstrek, which is to say it is a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated gasoline engine that produces 156 horses and 196 Newton meters of torque, mated to a CVT. Now, the engine itself, with the combination of the CVT, is not very sprightly. So I would have liked a turbo inside this automobile, because when you're at a standstill and you floor it, the pick is good. I mean, it does drive you forward and you feel it. However, when you're doing roughly about 30 kilometers per hour and you nail it, kind of lacks a little bit of oomph. I'll show you. So, from a standstill, nail it. Oh yeah, there's a lot of pull. And you just keep going and going and going and going. And it feels really great. But say you're cruising, like I mentioned, at 30 kilometers per hour and you just needed to quickly overtake someone. Here we go, let's nail it. The power eventually gets there, but man, that took a while. Now, as for the vehicle's dynamics, it's actually quite stable, helped obviously by the all-wheel drive system. So taking it corners at speed, yeah, there's a lot of confidence in there. Regardless of how tall you may think the automobile, the body roll is kept down to a very good minimum because it's got all sorts of grip. Also helped by the lower center of gravity, with one thing that Subaru is quite known for, which is a boxer engine. So it's flat, just like the way it grips the road, man. It's flat. Going over speed bumps and rumble strips too, at speed, no issues. Here's a speed bump at 40. Nothing. Here's another one at 40. Nothing. and then taking a turn, let's say at a much higher speed, let's say 60, I'm holding it with basically 4 fingers. Stable. Nothing. This thing's like the foot of a horse. Glue. NVH is good, it's quiet, it's comfortable, it's very easy to drive. Again, very simple controls all up inside the car. Visibility is absolutely great. The windshield is large, but what makes it even better is that the A-pillars are small, and then like a Subaru is, it's got quarter windows here up front. So your view is really wild and wide, not wild, but wide. And then the fact that even though that there is a second screen here that gives you the driver information when it comes to the EyeSight and whatnot, it doesn't impede your view at all. I mean, I can still, regardless of how short I am, I can still see the top of the hood. I bet you didn't think I could, huh? But like I mentioned at the very beginning, the one thing that I wanted to show you and help me as best as possible is just exactly the EyeSight inside the system and how good it is. Now that I really want to show you. So finding traffic in Metro Manila is obviously not going to be a problem. It's like finding Jack in a field of daisies. He sticks out like a sore thumb. So I'm going to turn the cruise control on that has low speed follow, adaptive cruise and whatnot. I'm set at 70 kilometers per hour. Now it's at 35. I'm going to kick it to 70 kilometers per hour or 75, which is already past the speed limit of EDSA. But I'm maintaining a safe distance with the car in front of me, traveling at 40 kilometers per hour, now 30. Not 25. What's going on? Oh, I'm slowing down. See, the car picks up very, very well. It's one of the more intuitive systems or low speed follows that I know of. And you can set it well below 30 kilometers per hour so that you can give your right foot a rest when really you're stuck in traffic. And it's a lifesaver. And I will say this also about this system, that it works really well to keep you up to speed with the car in front of you as quickly as possible, instead of other low speed follows where the distance is just so far, and in Philippine driving there's like going to be 700 cars that are going to get in front of you immediately already. It's very, very intuitive. I like it a lot. And yet I do not feel like it's taking too much time to react and I'm losing track and I feel unsafe. Not at all. I feel very, very safe. If there was one thing, no, make that two. If there were two things that I could take from this car with me at all times and put it in all the automobiles that I could drive, it would be the fact that it's an all-wheel drive system and this EyeSight. I like it. I like it a lot. The 2023 Subaru Forester S comes in at 2,168,000 Philippine pesos. It sits quite close to something like the Mazda CX-5 all-wheel drive non-turbo, which comes in at 1,990,000 Philippine pesos. And if all-wheel drive isn't a must-have for you, there is also the Peugeot 3008, which is okay, a bit more expensive at 2,255,000 Philippine pesos, but it does have a better interior and an extremely unique look on its exterior. Now, while crossovers are being released left and right with the latest tech and fads, if you can even call it that, some might find it a bit overwhelming because it has much larger screens and somewhat convoluted controls inside the automobile. If you're looking for something a bit more traditional, that's exactly what the Forester is giving you. It's got simple and easy controls you will find inside. It's also very comfortable inside the car. And then there's the fact that you've got all the safety that EyeSight brings you. Yes, there are some drawbacks, like a lackluster engine, and well, the fuel efficiency is actually something to be desired about. But for those that are looking for a no-nonsense driving experience with the aid of all-wheel drive to boot, and they're not necessarily looking for the latest and greatest tech, well, the Forester might actually be the perfect fit for you. Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph, try the Get Quote button, which is absolutely free, connects you to all the Subaru dealers nationwide, which will bring you that much closer to getting your next car quick, fast, and in a hurry. This episode of Behind the Wheel was shot on location at Ortigas Estates, Circulo Verde. For more information, visit the links in the description below.